Oh my goodness.
Howdy.
It's warm today, so needed a nice cool drink. Guess what we have, Mikey?
We have an elder's letter that is a direct reflection of the Royal Australian Commission.
I think so. I think so. I think
Dated
it's
August 1st, and what is the day of this video?
August 1st.
August 1st.
So, yeah.
This is a doozy. How many pages is this one?
This is 6 pages.
6 pages, and it has to do with child abuse.
Yeah.
And the new guidelines that Watchtower are requiring their elders and circuit overseers to follow. And
It's good.
In some ways it's good, and in another way it falls
Still not good enough.
exceedingly short, because when Kim reads this and she gets to the end, I'm going to bring out a point, Watchtower. I really hope you're watching, because I'm going to encourage something of those Jehovah's Witnesses to use a legal term when it comes to this sexual child abuse.
Okay. Now, I really don't want to read the entire thing, but I almost need to.
Well, you know, the big thing is, regarding this 6-page letter, the rank and file Jehovah's Witnesses is never going to know the content of this. This is only for the eyes
Unless they watch
of
our
elders.
video.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You should be watching apostate videos, because we're the ones that are letting you know about these secret elders' letters and the direction that they are now required by Watchtower to take.
Yeah. So here is Watchtower's new policy on child abuse. To all bodies of elders, and like Mike said, August 1st, 2016, protecting minors from abuse. Dear brothers, this letter replaces the letter dated October 1st, 2012, to all bodies of elders regarding child abuse, and has been added to the list of policy letters cited in Index for bodies of elders. Please carefully study the entire letter. Okay, and I'm going to try to skip as much as I can. Number 2, child abuse includes the sexual or physical abuse of a minor. It would also include the extreme neglect of a minor by her parent. Child sexual abuse is a perversion and generally includes sexual intercourse with minor, oral or anal sex with a minor, fondling the genitals, breasts, or buttocks of a minor, voyeurism of a minor, indecent exposure to a minor, or soliciting a minor for sexual conduct. Depending on the circumstances of the case, it may include involvement with child pornography or sexting with a minor. Sexting describes the sending of sexually explicit messages or images electronically. From the Bible standpoint, child sexual abuse is a gross sin. Jehovah's Witnesses abhor child sexual abuse. Thus, the congregation will not shield any perpetrator of such repugnant acts from the consequences of his sin.
Now, isn't it interesting that in the Mosaic Law, a sin, see, the Bible's standpoint, child sexual abuse is a gross sin. Watchtower, why didn't you throw in there that it was a sin that incurred death? Why didn't you not put that in there? See, you're still not viewing it as a crime. You're viewing it still as a sin. This is a crime, people.
Now, number 4 is interesting because it says the scriptures place the responsibility on parents for teaching and protecting their children, and they have Ephesians 6:4. As spiritual shepherds, elders can help parents to shoulder their scriptural responsibility. But see, like in that court case, they tried to make it that the elders are not responsible for protecting, children.
Right.
But the thing is they won't warn the parents that there is a abuser in their congregation. Now, this letter also makes me wonder if they seen Jack and Kyla's elders meetings, their videos.
Yeah.
About what they were saying about the child abuse.
Well, but there again, the more you get into this letter, the more it really reflects what was happening with the Australian Royal Commission, too.
Yeah, that's the first impression I got, is it was just reeking that this is covering almost everything that was covered in the Australian Royal Commission's, hearings. Number 5, legal considerations. In some jurisdictions, individuals who learn of an allegation of child abuse may be obligated by law to report the allegation to the secular authorities. In all cases, the victim and her parents have the absolute right to report an allegation to the authorities, and I think Jehovah's Witnesses should.
Yes, they absolutely should. And I want to get back to this point 5 when we get done with the letter, because there's still something else here that Watchtower is not putting into the minds of Jehovah's Witnesses regarding child sexual abuse.
Now, I will say that we have had several emails and messages of people who have been abused or family members who have been abused, and they have asked us, what should I do? And I try to tell all of them, contact the authorities. Even if it is past the statute of limitations, contact the authorities. And, if you want, contact the elders. Because this next part, that even if it's an old case, so we'll go on to number 6. To ensure that elders comply with child abuse reporting laws, 2 elders should immediately call the legal department for legal advice when the elders learn of an accusation of child abuse. A call should be made even when both persons involved are minors. Do you understand what that means? Even if 2 young minors are involved in a little, backseat hanky-panky, if the elders find out,
Why don't you just call it what it is? They're fornicating, because that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do.
I didn't want to use,
they're fornicating.
I didn't want to use Watchtower's, terminology.
But hanky-panky works too.
Yeah. So the elders are going to be calling the legal department. It's like, oh my God. A call should be made. Okay, I already read that. The elder should not ask an alleged victim, the accused person, or anyone else to call the legal department on the elder's behalf. Now that sentence right there tells me that they had in the past. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the letter.
Right.
The elder should call the legal department even in the following situations. Now this is an interesting list. The alleged abuse occurred many years ago. The alleged abuse is based on the testimony of only one witness. The alleged abuse is believed to be a repressed memory. The alleged abuse involved perpetrators or victims who are deceased. The alleged abuse is believed to have already been reported to the secular authorities. The alleged perpetrator or victim is not a member of your congregation. The alleged perpetrator is a non-witness associating with the congregation. Wow. The alleged abuse occurred before the alleged perpetrator or victim was baptized. The alleged victim is now an adult. The alleged abuse occurred in the past, and it is unclear whether your congregation elders ever called the legal department for direction. So what this boils down to is anyone who was abused, contact your elders and the authorities. Number 7. The legal department will provide legal advice based on the facts and the applicable law. If the individual who is accused of the child abuse is associated with your congregation, the 2 elders calling should provide the legal department with the individual's date of birth and, if applicable, his date of baptism. After speaking with the legal department, the call will be transferred to the service department so that the elders can receive further assistance. Now we get into the good stuff. Number 8, 2 elders should immediately call the legal department regarding any prison inmate, baptized or unbaptized, who has been accused of child abuse and who is now associating with a congregation. This would include his attending congregation meetings held in the prison. In some cases, elders may not be permitted to inquire about the offense that an inmate may have committed. However, if the elders learn that the alleged offense has to do with child abuse, they should immediately call the legal department. Boy, there's going to be a lot of phone calls going into the legal department, isn't there?
I wonder how many hours those in the legal department are going to be missing out on the door-to-door activity.
Yep. You brothers better start taking your lunch and sitting at your desk to answer all these phone calls.
Yeah, you better.
If the elders become aware of an adult associated with a congregation who has been involved with child pornography, 2 elders should immediately call the legal department. Likewise, if the elders become aware of an adult or a minor associated with a congregation who is sexting with a minor, the legal department should be called immediately. The legal department does not need to be called when the elders receive reports of adults sexting one another. Okay, congregation considerations. Then they go into discussing if the minor is almost an adult and it was kind of what's the word I'm thinking?
Consensual.
Consensual, yeah. And they're not talking about adults and all of that. Okay, number 11, providing spiritual assistance to victims. As elders provide ongoing spiritual shepherding, it is especially important that they demonstrate empathy and compassion to victims of child abuse and their families. Now, that reminds me directly of the Australian Royal Commission,
Right.
because of how some of those cases were handled by the elders and how the victims were made to feel. Helpful suggestions and guidelines can be found in the Shepherding Textbook, Chapter 4, paragraphs 1 through 21 through 28. The elders should carefully review this material when helping victims of child abuse. In the case of any discussion with a child abuse victim who is still a minor, an elder should never meet alone with the minor, but should always involve another elder and another adult member of the congregation, preferably the minor's parents. If it is not possible to include the parent, for example, if the parent is the accused, then another adult member of the congregation who is a confidant of the victim should be included. And that was exactly what the judge was asking Jeffrey Jackson. Let's see. In addition to the spiritual shepherding provided by the elders, the victim or her family may desire other assistance. For example, the victim or her family may decide to consult a mental health professional. This would be a personal decision for them to make. When an elder is approached by an adult who is concerned or distraught about past abuse, he should speak consolingly to the person. Elders should manifest an empathetic, compassionate, patient, and supportive response to those approaching them about such matters. Well, that's a change.
Yeah. I don't think the elders can handle that.
No.
They can't.
No, they
They're
can't
not
be.
trained how to be empathetic.
Yeah. An elder must never meet alone with or become the sole confidant of a sister to whom he is not closely related. Number 13, investigating allegations. The elders may learn of an allegation of child sexual abuse directly from the victim, through her parents or through a trusted confidant of the victim. After receiving assistance from the branch office, the body of elders will appoint 2 elders to conduct a scriptural investigation of every allegation of child sexual abuse. These elders should carefully follow scriptural procedures and the Bible-based direction outlined in this letter and in the Shepherding Textbook, particularly Chapter 5. Elders should remember that during the investigation process and during the judicial committee process, a victim of child abuse is not required to make her allegation in the presence of the alleged abuser. And
That's a big change.
Directly from the Australian Commission. In the exceptional event that the 2 elders believe it is necessary to interview a minor who is a victim of child sexual abuse, the elder should first contact the service department. So no more getting them alone and asking them all these, detailed, graphic questions. Oh yeah, we've heard of that happening. Number 14, Judicial Committee. If the body of elders concludes that there is sufficient scriptural evidence to warrant the formation of a congregation judicial committee on the grounds of child sexual abuse, the coordinator of the body of elders should first contact the circuit overseer.
Get him involved.
Yeah, my goodness. And then they have the elder shepherd the flock reference, chapter 5, paragraphs 37, chapter 6, paragraphs 1 to 2. The circuit overseer will designate an experienced elder to serve as chairman of the judicial committee and, if needed, the appeal committee. If wrongdoing is established and the wrongdoer is not repentant, he should be disfellowshipped. On the other hand, if the wrongdoer is repentant and is reproved, the reproof should be announced to the congregation. This announcement will serve as a protection for the congregation, but they still won't tell them why.
Well, see, let me just throw something in here.
Good, because I need a drink.
It would be prudent on the part of any Jehovah's Witness to go ahead and contact the authorities. Because when the authorities are contacted on such a vulgar crime, such a heinous crime, your local newspapers will pick that up, and more than likely they're going to run a little blurb or something in the local newspaper. And I know from experience that a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses look at the arrest reports and things like that in your local newspaper so they can kind of keep an eye on the congregation too, because I've done it, Kim's done it, pretty much all of us have done it, because that's when you find out, oh, brother so-and-so was arrested last week for selling methamphetamine or drunk driving or something like that. So if you absolutely report this to the local authorities, don't even talk to the elders about it. Just do it. Make it as a matter of fact. When I get back to point 5, I'm going to really show why this is so important. And that way there, when the announcement is read that so-and-so has been reproved, you will know by reading the police the police reports that the newspapers are reporting on. You will know that he was arrested for child abuse. So when that announcement comes across the stage, so-and-so has been reproved, you'll know what it's for.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and that's the same thing they told Jack in that elders meeting is, oh, well, if someone is reproved or disfellowshipped, that is a sign for the congregation.
But they still don't know what it's for.
Yeah.
Filing a police report and keeping an eye, on that section in the newspaper, you'll know what it's for.
Yeah. Number 15, Reinstatement Committee. If a person who has been disfellowshipped for child sexual abuse applies for reinstatement, the coordinator of the body of elders should contact his circuit overseer and provide the names of those who served on the original committee. They've just made more work for the circuit overseer, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because this problem has not gone away, and it's far from being over with.
Yeah, it looks like it's getting worse. The circuit overseer will designate an experienced elder to serve as chairman of the reinstatement committee. If the decision is to reinstate, 2 elders should immediately call the service department. And immediately is in italics. This call must be made before the reinstatement is announced to the congregation. I'm telling you, they're really cracking down on the rules too and getting more specific. But like we said, it's still not good enough.
No, it's not good enough.
Okay, page 4, number 16. If a person who has been disfellowshipped for child sexual abuse has moved and applies for reinstatement in a different congregation, the coordinator of the body of elders of the new congregation should contact his circuit overseer. The circuit overseer of the new congregation will designate an experienced elder to serve as chairman of the reinstatement committee in the new congregation. If that committee recommends that the person be reinstated, the committee should contact the coordinator of the body of elders of the original congregation, who should then contact his circuit overseer and provide the names of those who served on the original judicial committee. That circuit overseer will designate an experienced elder to serve as chairman of the reinstatement committee in the original congregation. If that committee agrees to reinstate 2 elders from each congregation should immediately call the service department. These calls must be made before the reinstatement is announced in both congregations. So now you've got 4 elders calling the service department and 2 circuit overseers involved. Number 17, restrictions. The elder should carefully adhere to all direction provided by the service department regarding reasonable steps that should be taken to protect minors from one who is engaged in child sexual abuse. For example, the service department will provide direction when 1. A congregation judicial committee determines that one guilty of child sexual abuse is repentant and will remain in the congregation. Number 2, one disfellowship for child sexual abuse is reinstated. Number 3, when an unbaptized publisher or baptized member of the congregation who denies an accusation of child sexual abuse is convicted by the secular authorities. Number 4, one viewed as a child molester by the community or the congregation becomes a publisher or becomes a baptized member of the congregation. Number 18, direction from the service department to the elders will include restrictions imposed on an individual's activities within the congregation, on his participation in the field ministry, and on his interaction with minors. The elders will be directed to caution the individual never to be alone with a minor, not to cultivate friendships with minors, not to display affection for minors, and so forth. In some cases, the service department may specifically direct elders to inform parents of minors within the congregation of the need to monitor their children's interaction with an individual. I think that's what they should do anyway with everyone who's been accused.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to skip this part. If there's any questions, they call the service department. Number 19. Now this is a change from previous rules. One who has engaged in child sexual abuse does not qualify to receive any privileges in the congregation for many years, if ever. That's a change. This includes seemingly minor privileges. Elders should keep in mind what is stated in the January 1st, 1997 Watchtower article, "Let us abhor what is wicked." Page 29, paragraph 2. Child sexual abuse reveals an unnatural fleshly weakness. Experience has shown that such an adult may well molest other children. Duh, it's about time they realize that.
Well, but they wrote this back in January 1st of 1997, but from 97 to 2015, 2016, the Jehovah's Witnesses are not following what's even written in their own magazines. In fact, if you were to take this particular article to a Jehovah's Witness, I guarantee you, he would say, "I ain't gonna open that up. I ain't gonna look at that.
I don't remember that.
That's old light." This is how disgusting this whole situation with the Watchtower Bible Tract Society is. They become so afraid to even look at their own literature.
So are the elders going to go look this up?
Probably not.
Okay, back to the paragraph. True, not every child molester repeats the sin, but many do. And the congregation cannot read hearts to tell who is and who is not liable to molest children again. Okay, then they go into Paul's counsel to Timothy applies with special force in the case of baptized adults who have molested children. Never lay your hands hastily upon any man, neither be a sharer in the sins of others. 1 Timothy 5:22. A little late on that one too, aren't they?
Yep.
Therefore, if the body of elders believe that one who is engaged in child sexual abuse decades ago may now qualify for minor privileges, such as carrying or adjusting microphones, operating audio-video equipment, or assisting with accounts, literature, magazines, or territories, they should assign 2 elders to call the service department. The assigned elders should call the service department before any congregation privileges are extended. Number 20, filing. Now, this reminded me of the video that Mark did regarding them destroying evidence. And also the testimony of the one elder in the Australian Royal Commission.
That's what we do.
Where he admitted that's what we do. We destroy our notes so our wives don't see them. That's what this reminded me of. Number 20, filing. Information concerning individuals associated with the congregation and accused of child sexual abuse, established or not, including letters of introduction, should be placed in an envelope labeled with the individual's name and marked "Do Not Destroy." This envelope should be kept indefinitely in the congregation's confidential file. This would include notification of disfellowshipping or disassociation forms on individuals who have committed child sexual abuse, even if later reinstated. 21. Moving to another congregation. When an individual who has been accused of child sexual abuse, established or not, moves to another congregation, 2 elders from the congregation the individual moves from should immediately call the legal department. The elders should be prepared to provide the name of the new congregation if known. This should be done even if the individual is disfellowshipped or is in prison and is transferred to another facility or is released. The Congregation Service Committee should not send any information to the new congregation until after receiving legal advice from the legal department and direction from the service department.
Them boys in the legal department are going to get mighty busy.
No wonder they were asking for more lawyers in their letter a while back, huh?
Yep.
Number 22. When the elders are informed that an individual has been accused of child sexual abuse, established or not. Did I already read that?
I think you did.
No, it's just very similar from that one. Okay. 2 elders should immediately call the legal department. This should be done even if the individual is disfellowshipped or in prison. Okay. Yeah, I did read that. Okay. If the individual is disfellowshipped and living within the congregation's territory, the elder should list that address on the appropriate congregation territory card as do not call.
Elders, Watchtower, make sure you remind the rank and file to turn those cards over and look at the do not call list, because we all know they don't.
Yeah.
I know that from experience.
Yeah. Okay. Notification of secular authorities. From time to time, secular authorities may inform the elders that a sex offender is living in the area. Notice they never tell the congregation.
No, they don't.
The notice may provide the address of the individual and may state the nature of his criminal activity. In such a case, the elder should list that address on the appropriate congregation territory card as a do not call. Now this is interesting because this is when it gets into when everyone involved is a minor. Number 24, sexual misconduct involving only minors. What steps should elders take when minors engage in sexual misconduct with one another? As stated in paragraph 6, 2 elders should immediately call the legal department even when both persons are minors. Minors who engage in sexual misconduct with one another are not generally considered by the congregation as having engaged in child sexual abuse. However, regardless of the ages of those involved, such misconduct is serious and may even warrant congregation judicial action. The body of elders should work with the parents to ensure that the minors receive spiritual assistance. And if the elders have any questions regarding a specific case, they should call the service department. 25. The potential serious consequences associating with sexting. Highlight the importance of Christian parents supervising their children's use of electronic devices. When baptized minors become involved in sexting, the elders must use good judgment in determining whether the wrongdoing has escalated to a point warranting congregation judicial action. And then they go on to find, you can find it in the Questions from Readers, July 15th, 2006, Watchtower. The Elders, Chapter 5, Paragraph 9 goes on. Notations in the Shepherding textbook, and they have a bunch of quotations that you can look up for reference. And then the last paragraph, it is, because I'm losing my voice, it is imperative to adhere to the direction in this letter each time a matter involving child abuse comes to your attention. This will serve to uphold the sanctity of Jehovah's name and to protect minors.
Uphold, to serve, to the that
sanctity of Jehovah's
they've
name.
already destroyed the sanctity of Jehovah's name because you got your asses hauled in court before the Australian Royal Commission. You've already destroyed the sanctity of that name. Come on. My goodness, you ought to be talking about repairing the damage that you've done to that name.
Yeah, like a full apology to everybody?
And it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Your full cooperation with this direction is appreciated. May Jehovah grant you knowledge, wisdom, and discernment as you care for this and other weighty matters in connection with the flock of God entrusted to your care. Your brothers. You know, if I was an elder, I would just be saying adios muchachos because
Yeah, I ain't gonna deal with this.
yeah, I mean this would be just too much. Too much.
Okay. You done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm losing my voice.
When Kim was reading this, I found it very mysterious that Watchtower has refrained from a specific word. And in fact, if we look at the whole child sexual abuse as it pertains to the world, we've become so conditioned to hearing sexual abuse, child abuse, that something I feel is getting drowned out or lost in the background in all of this. I'm going to read a definition from Black's Law Dictionary. And it has to do with statutory rape. Because all we're hearing is child sexual abuse, child sexual abuse. When you can get somebody charged for statutory rape, if I remember correctly, in most states, that sentence carries a mandatory jail term. But I could be wrong about that. I'm just going off of memory. But when it comes to child sexual abuse, a lot of times we forget about the 15, 16, 17s, and 18-year-olds who are victim, because these days it's all been categorized as child sexual abuse. So I'm going to read Black's Law Dictionary under statutory rape. The unlawful sexual intercourse with a female under the age of consent, which may be 16, 17, or 18 years of age, depending upon the state.
Or younger.
Or younger. The government is not required to prove that intercourse was without the consent of the female, because she is conclusively presumed to be incapable of consent by reason of her tender age. Now, there's a note here that says to go and see rape. Now, I'm not going to read what the Law Dictionary says about rape, because we all pretty much can figure that out, but I found it interesting that underneath the definition of rape, they have another category that's italicized again, statutory rape. Under modern statutes, which often materially change the common law definition and create an offense commonly known as statutory rape, where the offense consists of having sexual intercourse with a female under statutory age. The offense may be either with or without the female's consent. So let me run this by you, dads. I'm speaking to you as a father. If your daughter, let's just say, is a little loosey-goosey, and she consents to having sex with an adult, say your daughter's 17, 16, and she consents to having sexual intercourse with an adult, as her legal guardian, it is your right to press statutory rape charges against that Jehovah Witness individual. And I say that because I know damn well this happens a lot within the organization.
Happened in Wisconsin.
It happened in Wisconsin. An underage baptized Jehovah Witness was having sexual relations with an adult married man who was a police officer. And this family of Jehovah's Witnesses just kind of let it all go. They didn't want to press charges. They didn't want to make waves.
The elders didn't want to make waves.
They didn't want to drag Jehovah's name through the mud. we become so conditioned to hearing child sexual abuse, that I think that statutory rape is becoming passe. And I think that if enough of you Jehovah's Witness dads start throwing that terminology out when you call the police officers or the authorities, start throwing out statutory rape, these guys that are doing this to your daughters, if they're convicted in a court of law, if I remember correctly, I think there's a mandatory jail sentence involved with that. Start throwing these people's ass in jail.
And also, according to the letter, it even just...
What?
It also includes sexting.
Sexting.
So,
Yeah.
that would be considered a crime also.
But I find it very convenient for the Watchtower Babble Crap Society to write all this stuff and not even remind the elders that it's also statutory rape. So Watchtower, you still have not gone far enough. You're not reminding your elders that this is statutory rape and it's not a sin. Wake up!
So that is our breaking news of them updating the child abuse letter. And I know it has already been sent to Jonathan Sanders of the UK Commission.
Yeah.
So, thank you everyone for your patience in going through the reading of this. And,
well, you know what? It's really nice to see that Watchtower has another master other than Jehovah.
yeah, it ain't the Holy Spirit telling them to change this.
No, it is the laws of the land that are breathing down their necks, and there's a very specific reason why the laws of the land can do that.
Well, we've heard rumors that the Australian Royal Commission is not done with Watchtower. The hearings may be done, but they're not done with them. And I think this is evidence of some changes that are going to affect, and I think there's more coming.
Well,
Mark my words, there's more coming.
As far as I'm concerned, that idiot, Jeffrey Jackson, should be charged with perjury, lying under oath. I mean, come on.
Too bad stupidity isn't
too bad
federal
stupidity.
offense.
Yeah, exactly. They'd all go to prison for that. Stupidity. All right, well, let's get on with our evening, dear.
Yes, thank you for listening, and we hope
Bye.
you will have a wonderful week. Bye.